Long ball is going to go for a touchdown. The game's over. Webster Slaughter.
Metcalf will go for the score. Unbelievable.
45-40. Run, William, run. He's got blockers in front. 5. Touchdown. Joshua Cribbs turns disaster into a score.
Sight wants it all on this one for Ovid, and he is there.
Jim Brown to the 30. Jim Brown is going to go in for another touchdown.
The Cleveland Browns select Baker Mayfield.
Wow.
It is Baker Mayfield.
I woke up feeling dangerous.
Hello, Cleveland. Welcome to another episode of the 1085 Gridiron Podcast. I am your host, Anthony Njoku, and as always, I got Jack McCurry along with me. How you doing this morning, Jack?
Doing well, man. How was your Thanksgiving?
It was really good. I wasn't sure if we were going to have one or not. We lost power for close to 24 hours, so we were kind of worried that everything would be spoiled, but we got pretty lucky and had a nice Thanksgiving. You have a good one?
Yeah, I had to work in the morning, but it was a good one. Got to spend some time with some family, watch some good football. So all in all, it was a good day. Another typical Thanksgiving.
Yeah, there's some very good football on Thanksgiving, and we got some good football this weekend. We're recording on Saturday morning. We got Ohio State, Michigan coming up in a few hours. It's big rivalry weekend across college football, but we're here to discuss the Browns, and we have a huge rivalry game tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon. We play the Pittsburgh Steelers, and with everything that went on just a couple weeks ago, Jack, I think that this game tomorrow is going to be one of the most intense Browns-Steelers games that we've seen since the Browns' return in 1999, and I think that it's going to be a very good one. So we're going to jump right into this, and I guess the biggest storyline going into this game, Jack, is the Steelers decided to bench Mason Rudolph. He threw 4 interceptions against the Browns. He did not look good against Cincinnati last week. So in the second half, they put in Develin Hodges, and he gave Pittsburgh a spark. He had a long touchdown pass to James Washington that proved to be the game winner for the Steelers over the Bengals in that game. Jack, talk about the Steelers' mindset in benching Mason Rudolph and then putting in Develin Hodges and where it could go for them.
Yeah, I mean, you see Mason Rudolph, he got off to a good start, replacing Ben Roethlisberger, but he has struggled the last couple of weeks. Obviously against Cleveland he did, and then, last week struggling against a winless Cincinnati team. Pittsburgh's still in the hunt, obviously. They hold the second wild card spot right now, and I think it's apparent that Mike Tomlin knows that in order to stay in the hunt, like, this offense has to get rolling. And obviously there's been injuries. Connor's hurt. Juju Smith-Schuster's out. They've had to, make shift at wide receiver. Obviously, Deontay Johnson's been in and out with injuries. The running game hasn't got going. They're without Pouncey, who's suspended because of the whole fiasco in Cleveland. They're trying to find that spark, and obviously Hodges gave them that last week against Cincinnati. Like you said, the long touchdown pass. It was a solid throw, and then we know what kind of athlete James Washington is coming out of Oklahoma State. He did the rest of the work, including an incredible stiff arm. So they're going to roll with Hodges. It'll be interesting to see how they're going to formulate the offensive game plan around him. But they're looking for a spark, obviously. So hopefully for their sake that he can give them that, but hopefully for our sake, we could put a damper to that.
Yeah, he did beat the LA Chargers back, I want to say it was like week 6, when Rudolph was out for a week, when Rudolph took that nasty hit. What, to you, from what you've seen from Hodges, what separates him from what Mason Rudolph did?
I think his mobility is obviously the biggest difference between Hodges and Rudolph. From what I've seen, he's able to roll out, extend plays with his legs. I even went on YouTube and found some clips from his days in Stanford. The mobility, the ability to extend plays, obviously, is a big thing. Rudolph is a little mobile, but I think Hodges brings more to that. and he's able to get the ball out quick. I think entering that Chargers game, he dumped it off a lot to Connors, to Benny Snell. Obviously, Connors out, but they have Snell, and then they have Samuels. So he's able to read the defense quick. If the first read wasn't open, he'd dump off to the running back. Connor had like 7 catches for 90-something yards that game against the Chargers. Obviously, last week they opened up more. Obviously that touchdown to James Washington was one. He was able to find guys like Deion Kane, Deontay Johnson. So I think they're opening more things up for him. So you can watch that Chargers game and think he's just he's Captain Checkdown. But I feel like he's got the arm that he can make throws down the field. And obviously the mobility is something that you need if you're an NFL quarterback today. So he obviously has that as well. So I think he can provide a somewhat of a spark to the Steelers offense. He's obviously got a solid line in front of him. If they can get the running game going, I think things will be easier for him. Obviously, you look at what Brandon Allen did with Denver, having Freeman and Lindsey. So if they can get the running game going against Cleveland, which, Cleveland hasn't been the best at stopping the run, that offense can provide a spark. But if there's any Pittsburgh people out there that think that, Duck Hodges could be the long-term answer, I wouldn't bank on that personally.
Yeah, I'll let you get your opinion on this in a second, but I think right now the biggest thing between the two is there's a confidence factor in all this. And I think with Rudolph, his confidence has been completely shattered, from that nasty hit that he took to where Hodges had to start that game against the Chargers to where he kept on turning the ball over. You saw him get frustrated in that game against Cleveland that led to everything. After throwing 4 interceptions and getting hit on 3 consecutive plays at the end of the game with that third hit, setting off the mayhem that ensued there. And then early on in that game against Cincinnati, he just didn't look himself. And I think that at some point, the confidence factor for Mason Rudolph is really what triggered the change to Develin Hodges. And I think that's what Tomlin saw. And I think right now with Hodges, there's just more of a confidence factor throwing the football.
Yeah, I think like when you get hit or you turn the ball over, obviously your confidence is going to waver. And, some guys are able to shake it off and some can't. And it looks though, Rudolph, he's taken some nasty hits this year, whether it was, a football hit or what Myles Garrett did to him. You got to wonder if everything's all right up there at Rudolph's head. And obviously, I know some Browns fans really don't care what's going on with Rudolph because he's like public enemy number 1 right now for what's been going on. But I'm sure the mental aspect of his game has taken a hit with all the hits. Obviously, the one hit against Baltimore, that was scary. I think everybody was really worried about him when, you get hit and your body goes limp like that. That'll make anybody lose their psyche. But he has struggled. Maybe him sitting for a week or two might make him see things in a different light, but he's had enough starts at this point to where you kind of know what Mason Rudolph's going to be. He's going to be a solid backup in this league. I think he'll be a spot starter. Obviously he's gone 5-3 as Pittsburgh starter this year, but he's definitely not the long-term answer. Hodges probably won't be unless he comes out and plays like a Tommy Maddox or something to where he can carry this franchise for a couple years should Roethlisberger retire. But I really don't see it. I don't think he has the tools to be a long-term fit for him. And, not saying that, Pittsburgh, I hope they find their long-term answer, but, they're probably regretting not having that first-round pick because they could have been in a situation where maybe they get Tua if he's Trent happens to fall down the board, but now they don't have that first round pick. So,
well, I think that Minkah Fitzpatrick trade is that won't be a problem not having that first round pick. I think he'll be there long term, and that 10 years down the road, that'll be a very good trade that they made for him. Let's talk about the Browns here. The Eric Murray is out. Greg Robinson is questionable. He was placed in the concussion protocol. Olivier Vernon, who's been dealing with that injury, is questionable. He actually started to do drills this weekend. So There's at least, I think, a chance that he might play tomorrow. But the big storyline is Greg Robinson being in concussion protocol. Jack, if he's not able to go, do you have faith that Justin McCray will be able to step in and take his spot, and the Browns be able to have a decent offensive line performance without having Greg Robinson?
Not really, because McCray's one start against New England, he did not play well. I know he's a good run blocker, but Pittsburgh was able to limit our running game for the most part in the first matchup. But, McCray is not a solid left tackle. Robinson's actually been good. I seen, was it Jake Burns earlier this week said that Robinson's having his best season as a pro, even though he's had his hiccups and he hasn't been perfect either. But, I would rather have Robinson out there. I read that he did some physical stuff on the side yesterday, so that's encouraging. Just because he's in the protocol doesn't essentially mean he has a concussion. He just came in with the symptoms. So hopefully he can go, but if not, you would hope that maybe they'll activate Njoku this weekend, and then you can run some double tight end sets with him and Harris, or him and Seals-Jones, or Harris and Seals-Jones, just to help McCray out. You could also throw out there that Kendall Lamb finally gets back on the field. You can use him as another extra tackle, or maybe even Drew Forbes, because, McCray is going to have a tough test. He's got to play against Bud Dupree. They even may put TJ Watt over on that side, although he was up against Hubbard for the majority of the first matchup. So this offensive line's got a big test. I mean, I know our offense played somewhat well against Pittsburgh the first time around, but I would expect that Pittsburgh's defense is going to come out swinging, and they really play well at Heinz Field. They get the majority of their sacks there as well.
Yeah, they always play well at Heinz Field. The Browns have only won one game there since their return in '99. They did win in '99, but that was at the old Three Rivers. Then they won back in 2003 on Sunday Night Football, where Tim Couch just absolutely embarrassed the Steelers. But it's been a long time since the Browns have won there, and it's always a tough place to play. So the Browns definitely have their work cut out for them. Missing a lot of people on their defense, not particularly always playing well in Pittsburgh, since Heinz Field opened. So, when you look at the offensive line, not having Greg Robinson would definitely be a huge blow. You've seen over the last few weeks, they've been using McCray as an extra lineman to run 6 linemen out there when in a running game. That's paid off for him. But, if McCray has to start, I think that, the running game will be there like it was against New England a little bit. They just can't turn the football over. But you've seen over the last couple of weeks the running game with Hunt and Chubb kind of take off a little bit with the way that they've been able to use Hunt to use the misdirection, use the motion, get them all over the formation. You don't know where the ball is going. So they've been able to build on that a little bit, and you kind of saw against Miami almost a full picture of the offense. And if David Njoku is activated for Sunday, this will be the first time this season that all of the weapons that they plan on going into the season will be active for one game. I know Antonio Callaway was traded, but you'll have Njoku, you'll have Harris, you'll have Hunt, Chubb, Higgins, Landry, and Odell all at your disposal. And I think finally you might be able to see an offense having all of his pieces together for the first time on Sunday.
Yeah, I don't know if Njoku is going to go. It seems like they were still mulling that decision. But, I mean, this offense is still talented enough that they can go out and put up points on any defense. They've shown it the last few weeks, whether it was, Pittsburgh the first time around, Buffalo. I mean, they're talented enough to put points on the board. They hung 40 on Baltimore earlier this season. So if Njoku comes back, it's great. It's an added boost. It frees more guys up. But even if he's not there, Landry's been playing good ball. Beckham's starting to play good ball. Obviously, we know what Chubb and Hunt bring to the table. And this offensive line's been playing well the last couple of weeks. Baker's been playing great. It's just like last season in the second half. So whether or not Njoku plays, I still fully expect the offense to play complementary football, both with running the ball and passing. And then on the other side, the defense will play just as well. And as long as they match the physicality that they brought the first time around without having to get too physical. Some of them hits were very questionable on the Browns' part, but they showed that when it comes to physicality, they can bring it. They just need to bring it again on Sunday.
Yeah, they need to bring it in a reasonable manner. I think eliminate the dumb penalties. That's going to be the big factor in this game. Is can they keep their cool? Can they not do anything stupid? That's the biggest thing in terms of penalties going into this weekend. Jack, when you look at what they did last week against Miami, I know it's Miami, but you saw this offense pretty much click on all cylinders. And I think that's kind of why the Browns are listed as the favorites right now in this game. What did they do specifically against Miami that you believe they will have an edge over the Steelers on Sunday?
I think they came out aggressive, and that's the one thing that's been consistent offensively the last few weeks. They've come out swinging. They'll throw it early, and then they'll start blending in the run. And I think that's what they should have been doing all along. When you have Baker Mayfield, who's an aggressive quarterback who can get the ball downfield, and then when you have guys like Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry who are able to get open, that's exactly what they need to do. And yeah, we know Pittsburgh has a great secondary. Minkah Fitzpatrick, Joe Hayden, but if that offense comes out swinging and, you even throw in Kareem Hunt in the receiving game, Nick Chubb in the receiving game, like last week, that screenplay, opened everything up instantly. And then Baker was able to do his thing, roll out, find Landry on that, I think it was a 3rd and long or 2nd and long. And then, be able to punch it in. That's what they need to do. They need to come out swinging, show their physicality and their aggressiveness on offense if they get the ball first, or even if they have to, go force a 3-and-out early. If they stay aggressive on offense, which we know Kitchens is going to do because that's the type of coach he is, then I think you're going to see that Cleveland will be aggressive right from the get-go. Because if they stick to the formula that's been working here the last few weeks during this winning streak, then I don't see why we can't win this ball game right from the start.
Yeah, I think this offense is going to be successful tomorrow against Pittsburgh. I don't know if we'll put up the points. I know the Steelers do still have a tough defense. In that first game, they did a good job in converting their opportunities into touchdowns. And when you play Pittsburgh, you have to, when you have the opportunity down in the red zone and when you get close to the goal line, you have to punch the ball in. You can't settle for field goals. I can't tell you how many times we've seen Browns teams just settle for field goals against the Steelers, and it's come to bite them in the on the scoreboard later on in the game. So the Browns have to do a better job, and they have over the last few weeks of scoring in the red zone, not turning the ball over. I think that's been the biggest turnaround is the limited amount of turnovers that there have been for the Browns and Baker Mayfield. So I think this offense will be able to put some points up on the board, but they have to really, when they have the opportunity to, Jack, is to cash in when they get down to the red zone and when they have those opportunities.
Yeah, definitely. The red zone offense has really picked up here in the last few weeks. We talked about at the beginning of the year, they were struggling so bad, and it was really different from what we saw in the second half of last year, which, obviously won Kitchens the head coaching job. Mike Baker was on fire, and obviously they've gotten a lot better. They're not perfect, but they're making improvements. I think they're going back to what was working last year. a lot of the, RPO stuff. And I think if they keep incorporating that, it's obviously something Baker's comfortable with. And, you throw a quick slant to Beckham or Landry, they are great athletes, and they can turn what would look like a 7 or 8 yard play into a 20 to 25 yard play. So, I mean, because that's just how good they are. So they keep incorporating that stuff, especially in the red zone. And then adding the fact that you have Chubb and Hunt, who are two of the best running backs in the league. This offense can cash in, and there's no reason why they shouldn't cash in once they hit the red zone with as much talent as they have on that side of the ball.
Yeah, we definitely don't want this game to coming down to field goals, especially in Pittsburgh, where it's always difficult to kick. So hopefully this offense can continue to build upon the red zone success that they've had over the last few weeks and punch the ball in when they get down there. Just a quick little story of something that kind of came across last night, and I don't know how much time I want to spend on it, but I'll let you voice your opinion. Freddie Kitchens was pictured, a fan took a selfie with him, and underneath his coat, you couldn't see it fully, but he was wearing a T-shirt from a local company that said, Pittsburgh started it. I know we saw plenty of those T-shirts come out after everything that went down with that Mayhem Jack. But what's your take on seeing Freddie wearing that shirt? I won't say he was out in public, but he was in public enough to where a fan was able to get a selfie with him.
Yeah, I seen another picture, and I think it was at like a movie theater. At the end of the day, it's a T-shirt. I mean, that's fine. If he wants to wear it, that's fine. I just hope that he has his team ready, because if he doesn't have the team ready, and they come out and lay an egg tomorrow, a lot of people are going to be pointing their finger at Freddie Kitchens saying that he's not prepared, but yet he's flaunting that shirt around town, and it's a bad look. I mean, if they lose, it's a bad look, and people are going to come hard on Kitchens for that. As of right now, it's a T-shirt. I mean, it doesn't really bother me, but like I said, if they don't win tomorrow but the team looks ill-prepared, then, the little run that Kitchens is on, all the fire is going to come back on them. So, you just hope that they're ready. You don't see other coaches in the league doing stuff like this. So, you would want the Browns to act like a professional run football team. And, stuff like this kind of makes you think that they're not a professional run football team. So that's just my opinion.
You did see Sean Payton wear that one shirt about Roger Goodell after everything that went down in New Orleans in the playoff game against the Rams. But, it's you really shouldn't be – I don't know if I really want to get into it, but leave that shirt at home, I'll say. Just don't go out in public in that one, because – Sunday after the game, we're going to get 500 questions from local media members, and he'll get sick of answering it. And, just leave that shirt at home, at least in my opinion. If you want to wear it in the enjoyment of your own home on Thanksgiving or whatnot. But I don't think that's a shirt a head coach should go out in public with. At least that's my opinion.
Exactly. And, you want to bring up Sean Payton. That's also the same guy that was allowing Bountygate to go on. So I really don't want to hear him really complaining publicly about calls or anything going on with his football team. So that's just my opinion.
All right. Keys to the game, Jack. What are your offense and defensive keys to the game? I know we kind of got into it a little bit, but overall, what are your two keys to the game for the offense and defense?
Just find a rhythm. That's still, like, while the offense has been making strides the last couple of weeks, they seem to have an unbalanced rhythm when it comes to the game. It seems like Kitchens doesn't know when to run when he needs to run, but he stays aggressive with the passing game, and that's fine when you have the weapons we have. But try to get more of a balance, more of a rhythm offensively. I know he wants to throw the football, but if you get out with a lead, keep that lead, maintain that lead, run the ball. You have Nick Chubb, you have Kareem Hunt. I know last week a lot of people at the end of the game were like, why aren't they running the ball? But, I mean, this is what Kitchens is. He's an aggressive coach. He's going to take his chances with the passing game. And it's working. I'm not going to discredit him with that. The passing game's been really well ever since the bye week pretty much. But try to find that balance. Try to incorporate a rhythm with Chubb and Hunt in the running game, but that's just the one thing. Find a balanced rhythm and keep the ball away from Pittsburgh. And if you get the lead, chew the clock. And I think that's the best way to win this football game.
Yeah, for me, it's continuously not turning the ball over. Keep focus on that. Keep the ball protected as best you can. You can't turn the ball over against Pittsburgh and expect to win. And defensively, it was very hard last week at times to create pressure against Ryan Fitzpatrick. I want to say Micah Fitzpatrick, but Ryan Fitzpatrick and the Dolphins. And this week, I think they're really going to have to find creative ways to pressure Hodges. Let's make him uncomfortable. Let's try to force him into some bad decisions. Whenever you have a guy out there who's an undrafted rookie, you could force him into some bad things. And the Browns defense and Steve Wilkes are going to have to find some ways to get creative and create pressure against that offensive line that does not have Pouncey on it. So, having Ogunjobi back will be helpful for this week, but they have to find some ways to create some pressure against that offensive line and force Hodges into some really bad decisions. Jack, who you got winning this game?
I'm going with Cleveland. I think they're the better football team right now. I really don't think that Develin Hodges is going to, come in his second career start and really provide a major spark to this offense just because the supporting cast around him isn't that great. Although I do like James Washington. I do like Deontay Johnson. Those guys will be solid NFL wide receivers in the future. But, they don't have Connor. Their running game is going to struggle. Juju is out, so that's going to, force Washington and Johnson into roles that really don't suit them. I think it's going to be a close game just because Pittsburgh's defense is good. I mean, we put up 21 against them. I really think around that number is the magic number for Cleveland. Like you said, if they can find some pressure, obviously Ogunjobi's back. They've been using Sheldon Richardson as an end. I'm really interested to see what guys like Brandon Bryant, Porter Gustin, Brian Cox Jr., what their role is going to be up front. If those guys, along with Ogunjobi, Richardson, Chad Thomas, maybe we get Olivier Vernon on a pitch count, that would be great. If they can limit Hodges, especially his mobility, I think the Browns are going to win this game. I am picking them to win. I'll say it's going to be 20-16. It's going to be a very close game. It may come down to a field goal. Hopefully it's on the good side of Heinz Field so that Austin Seibert isn't on the bad side where the wind kind of swirls. So yeah, I'll go 20-16 Browns. And one fact, the last time the Browns and the Steelers played on the same weekend as Ohio State, Michigan was in 2012. Ohio State won 26-21. Cleveland won 20-14. So hopefully the good karma today will lead into the good karma tomorrow.
All right, you know how bad I am with historical things. That was Mike Patton, right?
That was Pat Shurmur, actually.
Was it Shurmur? Okay, because I knew Patton won against him as well, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it was 2014. But okay. Yeah, 2012 was the last time Browns beat the Steelers on the same weekend Ohio State beat Michigan.
Gotcha. All right, like I said, you know how bad I am with the historical stuff.
And that's what I'm here for.
Yeah, got to be useful for someone around here. Just kidding. I got the Browns winning too. I think it's going to be close, like you had. I'll say 21-20. This game is going to be a back and forth one between these two teams. It's going to be a tough physical game. It's going to be even more physical than the last one because of everything that went down. It's going to be very chippy, and I think the referees are going to be overly sensitive to things because of what happened a couple weeks ago. So I think it's going to be a very penalty-filled game, and whoever commits the least is probably going to win this one. just based on that factor. So, like I said, I got this one close, 21-20 Browns, and hopefully, even though if the Browns get to 6-6, there'll still be a game behind the second wild card spot because of two teams in front of them play each other. So one team will get a win most likely, unless it ends in a tie. But the Browns are. If they win tomorrow, Jack, we could really realistically talk about playoff chances. But if they lose tomorrow, you can almost say that it's over. I know they still have Baltimore at home, which is a positive. They're not on the road. But I know with how good they're playing, it would be very tough to have 7 losses and have to win your final 4 games against 2 against Cincinnati, 1 against Baltimore, 1 against Arizona. So they got to win tomorrow, and if they do win tomorrow, it could be some fun times around here, and hopefully we're talking about another victory pod tomorrow evening when we have the opportunity to do this again.
Yeah, I mean, we win tomorrow. Like you said, we're 6-6, and we're rolling into December for the second straight year where we're talking playoffs. And, that's great, But even if we don't win, I'm going in the mindset of December like we got Cincinnati twice, Arizona, and then we could play spoiler somehow and ruin Baltimore's chances of maybe getting a first-round bye because they're sitting at 9-2, Buffalo's at 9-3, like, I would like nothing more than to play spoiler and make sure that Baltimore has to play wild card weekend or something like that. So it's good times. We're heading in the right direction as an organization. There's still some flaws, but it's better to talk about winning and playoffs and all that than having to talk about draft, which we've had to do a lot in December.
Yes, we have. We've talked about the draft quite a bit. I think we could kind of be certain that it will be an offensive lineman at some point, but we won't worry about that till the season's over. That game against Baltimore is on December 22nd, so you really don't know how the weather could play a factor in that one. So I'm not saying the Browns won't have a chance, but if they win this game, it won't be as difficult as an opportunity to get to the playoffs. So got to win tomorrow. Hopefully we're back tomorrow doing another victory pod. You guys can follow Jack on Twitter at JMcCurryCLE. Follow me on Twitter at Anthony Njoku. Follow the podcast and our website at The Dogland on Twitter. You can find the podcast on every podcast platform there is: Apple Podcasts, Google Play, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. With all of that, we're going to get on out of here. Most importantly, on Browns-Steelers weekend, go Browns, and with Ohio State-Michigan coming up, go Bucks.